At this time in our ascension pathway, many light cities are awakening up all across the world. These are cities that hold a higher vibrational reality, and they are paving the way for the new earth energy to really anchor into our reality. I believe that there are emerging light cities within Australia. I mentioned these light cities in a reel a couple of months ago. You guys were commenting all over it. And because of that, in today's video, we are going to be going deeper into what is a light city, why they're emerging now, where I see them in Australia, and we'll be going into a few of the places in Western Australia that you guys have been suggesting. We are going to psychically tune into these. Where will they be? I have opened my channel and I am ready to dive into these light cities. Welcome back, guys, and if you're new here, my name is Andreas. I am a full-time practicing psychic development coach and angel oracle here in Australia. If you would like to learn more about how you can tune into your own spirit guides or how to develop your own psychic intuition, or maybe you would just like a guidance reading, then you can head into the box below for all of my services. So what is a light city? We are going to get the map out and have some fun today. I'm going to open my channel a little bit more, connect into that heart space, bring in my own spirit guide team so that I can answer this question from the highest vibration. And I can feel very strongly that we have the Andromedans with us here today. They always seem to want to come through in these YouTube videos, so I'm going to call them in the highest good. So you might notice my energy may have shifted a little bit because I've connected into the Andromedan team pretty heavily. What they're telling me is that these light cities are a reflection of what is going on the inside of the light workers, the inhabitants, the everyday people that are living in these light cities. They carry with them a higher resting vibration. They're not so caught up in the smog of the matrix. A lot of these places have a lower population density and carry lower populations because big cities tend to carry more dense energy. The point of these light cities is not to exclude other places. This is not some sort of hierarchy of you're living in the wrong place, and if you're not in one of these cities, then you're doing the wrong thing. What this is that these cities are going to feel like they almost exist outside of the crumbling matrix that most of the world is experiencing. They're like little points of light where living there is free, fun, higher vibration, paradise, beautiful. And these places are to carry and anchor that fifth dimensional frequency. Eventually, it ripples out and everywhere feels like this because every single person on the planet is going to be carrying a fifth dimensional frequency in their heart, in their vibration. So the world around us has no choice but to reflect that back to us. But ultimately, what these light cities reflect is that people en masse with higher vibrations will be drawn towards these places. And you may even be feeling a call to move your location, to move towards a different place. Some of you light workers will be moving towards these light cities. Others may be even feeling called to move towards some of the more dense cities that need a bit of a helping hand. So there's no better or worse, and that's one of the most important things the Andromedans are telling me to share with you. Where I see light cities in Australia is in three main places. The first place that psychically stands out to me that I was drawn to quite a number of years ago is the Sunshine Coast. When I tune into the Sunshine Coast, it also includes some of the neighboring regions. These are places that have a high resting frequency, and I believe that if you go here, then you just feel it. You can tangibly feel that the energy is lighter, that the people are happy to be there, that they're genuinely happy with their lives and the way that they live out their lives. Now, I'm curious if you have been to or if you have lived in any of the cities and areas that we're mentioning, what your take is on these. You don't have to agree with me. I'm curious what you think. Pop them down below. Have you been to the Sunshine Coast? What was your experience? So when I'm talking about the Sunshine Coast, I'm talking about this whole region in Australia, all here, all here. Once we move towards Brisbane, not so much. The energy does get denser in Brisbane, but then it lightens up again as you move towards the national park here around the Gold Coast. So we're talking about the Gold Coast hinterland. I absolutely include that. And I'm also including the Northern Rivers. So we're talking Byron Bay, we're talking Mullumbimby, all of this region, most of this southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales areas are carrying this lighter frequency. They are way showing in this fifth dimensional paradigm. Does this mean that they are not living out normal lives? No. Does this mean that there isn't problems or that they just don't give a shit about the problems of the world? Of course not. It's just that they're not as bogged down. What this does is it creates a ripple effect. It's like it seeps out into the rest of the country. These light cities across the world are like nodes of high dimensional energy. And some of these nodes aren't even populated areas. Of course, Uluru is the beautiful sacred indigenous site, the rock. Uluru is most truly carrying a really high frequency, and it is like a central heartbeat of Australia. It's pretty much bang on in the middle of the country. It's a really good example of where a lot of higher frequency energy is being centered, but there isn't a large residential population that actually is inhabiting that region. The next inhabited region, though, is the Mornington Peninsula. And the Mornington Peninsula is down near Melbourne, and I'm sorry, Melbourne is not included in this. I'm not trying to crap all over Melbourne, I'm just being truthful to what I see. Of course, you can disagree or let me know down below how you see this. But when I tune into the Mornington Peninsula, and I've never been here, guys, I don't know what the Mornington Peninsula is like. I feel like the further south we go, the further away from Melbourne we actually go, the lighter the frequency becomes. So I'm curious if you have been in the Mornington Peninsula, what your thoughts are. The last place we need to explore is WA, Western Australia. We'll be tuning into this live, going into some of the 3 most common places that you guys were suggesting. I've already done some psychic geolocation over WA, and there's a few spaces that I am being drawn to in particular. We're going to dive a little bit deeper and see what comes up. Okay, we're back in the map. Let's have a look. So the places that I feel are carrying a fairly high frequency are somewhere in here. It starts with a K, that's all I know. I don't know where it is. It's just somewhere in this region and it isn't inhabited. So that is something that perhaps if you are in the WA region and you know more about it, this Kumarina, let's just look into that because I don't know about this one. There is somewhere in this band that is carrying a very high frequency, and it could very well be National Park area. When I tune into populated areas, I see southeast of Perth. Now, my geography isn't the most amazing, but if you're not familiar with Australian geography, Perth is down here in this southwestern corner. And what I see is more somewhere around here. Oh, so there's Margaret River. I actually don't know the geography of Western Australia, but Margaret River checks out here as being south of Perth. Let's tune in and see what we get. Margaret River was one of the highly suggested areas that just kept coming up again and again and again. And this is where it is. Wow, it's a lot more populated than I actually thought. I'm going to pull a card for each one of these 3 places to see what actually comes up. And we'll also be tuning in psychically to it as well. Going to pull, whoop, there it is. That's a really interesting card to come up for Margaret River. So the card, and I am using the Starseed Oracle today. This is the deck we're using, one of my favorite decks I use a lot of the time in my readings. The card that came up is Lost Lands, Soul Memories and Gifts. That is a really, really interesting card, which gives me the energy of this area is reclaiming. I get a healing energy. I don't know what the history of Margaret River is, but it feels like there is quite a lot of healing to be done there. Like there's a potentially a righting of wrongs. This could have something to do with Indigenous Australia. This is really interesting because then at the bottom of the deck we get lifting the veil. So yeah, this really checks out. It feels like with Margaret River that there is a lot of emancipation of Margaret River, that is an area that is healing, that it is expanding and growing, and it is becoming a lot lighter. Is it the light city that I thought? I don't quite think so. We're going to continue our little hunt here. And remember, let's not take this too seriously. This is a bit of psychic fun. We're not saying that anywhere is better than anywhere else. So the second place is Denmark, Australia, which, to be honest, I didn't even know existed before all of this. Okay, so we're down in this region. Let's remove the pop-ups. Oh, so this is a lot further south, and it's definitely south and to the east. So this is starting to check out with what I was seeing psychically. Coastal town, very small population, 2,500. So it's not a huge place, guys. And that sort of checks out. A lot of the time these places don't have, whoa, okay, when I tune into Denmark, I get very, very high energy here. Whoa. This body of water feels interesting. And this national park as well, Mount Lindsay National Park, Mount Romance. This whole region, it feels like there is high energy around here. Like not just the Denmark, but this whole stretch from Walpole? Forgive me. Walpole, and then all the way through to Albany. This is feeling, yeah, like it's good juju, guys. It's good juju. I'm curious if you guys have been to Denmark. I have never even been to WA, so I don't know from personal experience, but this, from what I'm receiving psychically, is very much giving a very light city area. Give them a quick little shuffle, shuffle. All right. And let's pull a card for the Denmark. There it is. Oofed. Okay, I'm going to pull a second one just for fairness because we did pull two for Margaret River. Are you fucking kidding? Are you freaking kidding me? That is cray cray. So, okay, the first card that came up was Surrender to the Sweetness. Venus energy, pleasure, joy, make love to life. That is giving, definitely giving high vibration. Lost lands, it came up again. So I think there could be a lot of healing that is also taking place in Denmark. A lot of upliftment of potential past wrongdoings in this region, probably in association with Indigenous action towards the Indigenous peoples of Australia. And this is very interesting. A third card fell out. We Are the Hathors it's, as you can see, deep love, mother's milk, birth as a portal. Portal, birthing the new earth. 5D frequency light city, showing the way. Like, the last area that we're going to check out is Broome, because that came up a few times as well. I have never been to Broome. I don't know anything about Broome. Okay, so Broome, I don't even know where Broome is. Is it north? Oh, that makes me seem like so geographically challenged. It's a lot more north, actually. Oh, I get a good energy here. I haven't even tuned in. So Broome is Broome is not very big. I thought Broome was a lot bigger than that. Ooh, I get good energy. Like, there feels like there's a bit of a riffraff. I don't know about anything about Broome. It does feel like there's a bit of a riffraff there, a bit of tomfoolery, you might say, but for the most part, it's feeling pretty light. And I'd like to pull a card for Broome. Look at this. This beautiful inlet looks like a tree. It's stunning. So let's pull a card. Well, that just came straight out. Portal again. Portal for Broome. Portal for Broome. That is fat. Are you kidding me? No way. I swear I shuffled this. This same card. We Are the Hathors. A portal, a birthplace. I'm including Broome in this as well. It really seems from that psychic tune-in that Denmark is the light city that is carrying that light that I was feeling from WA. and Broom underneath that. It's not a hierarchy, it's more of, I can feel that the energy within Denmark feels like it's a little bit vibrationally higher than the vibrational setting at Broome, and then that's higher again than what's at Margaret River. Actually live in these cities or you visit these cities or towns, what your perspective is on this. If you are into the ascension, especially as it applies to Australia, but as it applies to everything. If you guys like the vibe here and you like this sort of content, I invite you to subscribe and follow along. We are a growing community here and I am so excited to welcome you. I can sense a closing message from the Andromedan team that are going to come through with a little bit of channeled guidance regarding light cities. And what they're telling me is that the light cities ultimately exist within you. That all of this is fun, but the light city that they're encouraging you to inhabit is the one inside here. It is the vibration of your heart and your body. And as things continue to feel chaotic, as it feels near impossible to know who is telling the truth and who is lying around you, as it feels like all sides of coins cannot be trusted or are trying to deceive. This is when this light city is the most important. And they're reminding you that the experience that you have in this world is going to be a reflection of what is going on inside of you. So worry not about where you are geographically on the planet. If you do have an intuitive nudge to move, start to consider that. But if you're feeling good where you are, focus in on this. And that is going to enlighten your city, your reality, the most. They're happy with that. That's all that they wanted to say on that front, and I thank them. Thank you for the Andromedan Council for coming in there, just letting them go. There are so many things that I could ask you. What do you think about the WA towns that we tuned into? Also going through a little bit of a personal ascension right now. And when that happens, when you quantum leap up into that next phase of your own journey, that next chapter of your own life, it can be common to lose friends that are no longer in resonance with that frequency. If that has been your experience or you feel like that is currently your experience, then I invite you to check out that video because it's designed to pack you with a bunch of helpful context and tips to support you along that path.